So first off, I'm Dan Krutka. I'm Larry's son. For those of you who don't know me, it's great. I see a lot of familiar faces, some people I haven't seen in a long time, and then some people I'm just meeting or getting to know better who are part of their community here in Stone Canyon. So first thing I want to let you know, if you look around on the tables, you'll find slips of paper with QR codes, or you can use the address tinyurl, so URL like a website, tinyurl.com/Larry Krutka. That can take you into a website where we created, we added the obituary, we have a slideshow, we have stories and a lot more, and a way to contact us if you want to share stuff with us. We're in education. We like to make websites and share ideas and things like that. And so we've been doing that over the last few days, but we hope you'll go there to kind of remember Larry. Thanks so much to Kim for doing so much work on the website. Thanks so much to my sisters and Rachel, I don't know where Rachel is, for helping to get the pictures we put on. That was really meaningful to look over my dad's life. Everyone has just been kicking in the last few days to support each other and ensure we can remember my dad properly. Also, if you missed it, we had the first annual Larry Legend 5K yesterday. We believe about 75 people showed up. It was really exciting. So yeah, I think you heard me say first annual. So that means you have 1 year to get ready for the second annual. And so we'll let you know. We'll certainly post that on the website and post that on social media to get the word out. So I keep thinking my dad is out on a long bike ride. And he'll just be a little late getting here. And I guess it's just hard to imagine a world where Larry Krutka isn't working towards one of his goals. And he had many. He taught us all a lot of lessons during his life, but he didn't always have to say it. You know, he lived by example every day. But he occasionally did verbally provide me advice. And I came to learn that he really did speak from a place of experience and reflection. When I was kind of trying to find my way at college, my dad told me something that's stuck with me ever since. In fact, it's something that I tell my own college students in my classes when we're starting the class oftentimes. He said, whatever you're doing, you're going to get whatever you're doing, he told me, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. It sounds simple, but he really meant it. He lived by it. You have to choose the things that are important to you in life and commit yourself to them. You have to put in consistent effort, and you have to do it when it's hard. Larry Krutka put everything into whatever he was doing. He put everything into swimming and triathlons, and I think everyone here probably knows that. He has a lifetime of accomplishments, stories, and friendships because of it. Since his 5 a.m. swim practices in high school, which our grandma always used to tell her, she had to get up so early to take him to, he's always been up early and training for long hours. His ability to push through pain and injuries was well known. Unlike most people, he loved working out. He loved working out with other people. He loved watching people work out. And I'm sure he appreciated being recognized by his peers, even when it consisted of him being embarrassed in front of Donna. Donna told me this story recently that they were doing the Oklahoma freewheel, and 2 riders recognized Larry and just turned and got down and started bowing, going, "We're not worthy, we're not worthy." And I don't think he liked that kind of praise, but he got it often because he won races. You know, people admired what he did. I'll never forget when Kim and I were picking up our packets for the Oklahoma City Marathon, and a volunteer just out of the blue handed us an Oklahoma Sports and Fitness magazine with a full-size picture of my dad with the words "Legendary Larry" emblazoned across the cover. I mean, of course, he never told us about this at all. We didn't know this magazine existed, so we were just kind of shocked. He didn't brag about his accomplishments or what he did. He won a lot of races, but I think he really gained satisfaction from the journey. He put so much into his training and races, and he took so much more from them than his accomplishments can ever tell. Larry's training also took a lot out of him. So many of you may know he also put everything into eating. And I'm assuming that means a lot came out too. I don't know. Is that, Holly said her children would like goofy jokes. But his post-workout meals gained some notoriety of their own if you were ever with him. It wasn't uncommon to meet Larry for a meal and he would order 2. Legend has it that some of the Tahlequah buffets actually banned Larry for fear of financial ruin. And I don't think anyone can say that Larry Krutka didn't put a lot into not only eating food, but cooking meals for friends and family. He always loved family meals together. He took so much from people being together and catching up and sharing stories. He put everything into his business, Krutka Fitness Programs, and he felt such satisfaction in helping other people reach their health goals. He was so good with his clients. He was supportive and understanding, but he also challenged them to be the best version of themselves. He always said his background in psychology helped him support people's minds as much as their bodies. His clients ranged from professional athletes to high school students to senior citizens. He helped some people win competitions and other people sustain the quality of their life. He just put so much into training other people, and he gained so much joy from doing so. He also put everything into a house that they have now. He was in awe of the beauty of the Arizona landscape, as you can see all around you here. He would walk us up and just show us this area. He was so impressed with it. When Donna and him built their dream house and retired here in Oro Valley in 2018, he put his energies into landscaping. He constantly worked on his property, moving cacti, like literally, like putting things around the cacti and moving them himself, moving heavy boulders, planting gardens. So he was so proud to have his family and his Stone Canyon community come to his beautiful property, which he put so much work into. In a Facebook post, Larry called this area his Never Never Land, and he treated it like that. He was so content living here. He also put everything into Amazon, and I'm talking about the company. And by everything, I mean his money. We all, if you knew him, we all got sent like half-priced Echoes that we really never asked for. And so I wouldn't buy Amazon stock if I was you right now. I think they're going to take a little dip now that my dad's gone. But he loved helping his family set up their speakers or their other gadgets, and he always had the newest technology. My family was the first one I knew with home internet. We got Prodigy dial-up service for anyone who remembers that. He loved fixing things, and whatever he was doing, he didn't do it halfway. He wanted to do the job to the best he could because he wanted everyone to enjoy it when he was done. Donna, he put everything into your relationship. He loved you, and you made him so happy. For those that may not know, Larry and Donna met in 1991 through the Tulsa triathlon community. They fell in love and married in 1995. They trained together, they traveled together, they took long walks around Swan Lake in Tulsa together. They were partners in everything, and their marriage joined together Larry's 3 children and our dachshund Nike, and Donna's 3 children and their dachshund Jessie together. And Dad loved our family. Him and Donna took each grandchild on their dream vacation for their 10th birthday. And he put so much into our family, and he loved us, and we loved him, and we miss him. My dad put everything into his life, and because he did, he got so much out of it. And I'm so proud to have been Larry's son. My earliest memories are him helping me learn to spell Tahlequah, which was not the easiest city to learn, before he put me to bed. I remember him letting me stand on his feet while we danced to the Beatles. I remember him telling me that the more I put into things, the more I would take out of them. Now, Wednesday morning, my dad swam his last lap, doing what he loved, in the place he loved, with his wife he loved. He lived a full life, and he was content. He put so much into his life, and he got so much out of it. And all along, he was teaching us how to live. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Paul Krutka, Larry's daughter, and I just want to say a few things about my dad and things I learned from him. So, from my youngest days, I saw my dad as a superhero and not a mortal. And I'm not sure I ever thought of him as someone who had mortality in him. But like all of you, I was completely unprepared to lose him. Honestly, ever, but especially so soon. He gave me so much, and I just want to share some of those things with you today. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to admit that I'm going to have to take one of his 5,000 pairs of readers from his house. This is really First, my dad gave me a love for music. Like my brother, some of my earliest memories are dancing with my dad and listening to the Beatles, particularly I am the walrus over and over and over again, as only kids can do. But he would do it with me. He took me to one of my first concerts, the Rolling Stones. And he always had to have the best speakers that the market offered. In the 80s, that meant speakers that filled up the whole corner of the room. And like my brother, my house is also filled with speakers I did not buy. You should all know he's always listened to his music that loud. It's not a recent phenomenon or his later years. A second lesson he gave me was to give people the benefit of the doubt and appreciate everyone. My dad had formal training as a psychologist, and he came from a family of very hard workers. He would talk to anyone and everyone he met. There was a humility associated with that mindset that I try to carry into my life. I was wondering if I should mention this. There's so many things I learned from my dad. Thank you. And this one in particular, I was wondering if I should bring it up. And then today at the viewing, Margarita from the bike shop showed up and she said, "Your dad was so nice. He called me by my first name and he sent all of us Christmas cards at the bike shop." I said, "Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like my dad." Third, my dad taught me how to be fiscally responsible, and we shared an interest in investing. We had a lot of conversations about finances, and I remember one of our last really long conversations was whether or not it was worth investing in crypto. We had a long conversation that day, and we decided, yes, we were going to give it a shot. And so far, it seems like we were wrong, but we had decided we were in for 2 years, so we'll see how it turns out. But his ability to save and to be frugal has helped him spend the last 3 years of his life in absolute paradise with the person he loved. Fourth, of course, as we all know, my dad shared a really strong passion for fitness. I love swimming, I enjoy biking, and over time, my dad helped me build a strong tolerance to running. Although he was always so confused and perplexed about how his daughter was such a poor runner. In the 30 or so triathlons I did, my job was to serve as motivation for the strong runners. I was usually out toward the front after the bike, but I was their carrot to win the race. After having 3 kids, I don't take the time anymore. I choose not to take the time to train for triathlons, but I still get up at 4:30 every day and go to the gym, and I'm going to continue to do so as long as I can. And fifth, and most importantly, like my brother said, my dad taught me to live life. To all you have, give it all you have, and fully and completely live every day. It didn't matter if my dad was at work, training for triathlons, doing yard or housework, watching a movie, or honestly, even napping. He gave it his all. This is perhaps the most valuable lesson for me and for all of us. There's no greater gift than he could give than to teach us to live with purpose and passion. He packed so many experiences into his life. I'm not sure it's possible to accept losing him so soon. But we can use the last thing that he taught me and all of us about his untimely passing. We are not promised tomorrow. So we need to put effort into making sure that we are doing the things we love with the people we love every day. When I was young, my dad was really careful to tell me the difference between need and want. And I don't need my dad. He raised me to be strong and confident and independent. I desperately want him today, but I don't need him. And I won't have him the same way I have for the last 42 years. But what I and many of us learned from him can carry us through this time and the rest of our lives and make our lives better. Thank you so much.
It's really official that my brother and sister were way more prepared than I am. I've been coping by kind of being by myself, and so I'm not as ready as they were, but there's 2 things that I wanted to share with everybody today. First is my dad was a man of few words sometimes, but when he spoke, it always seemed like my dad knew the right thing to say. When I was in college, it's fine, she's fine. Everything is fine. When I was in college, I lost my roommate in a car accident. Oh God, there, hang on. That wasn't fine, it's fine now. I lost my roommate in a car accident, and my dad called me multiple times, and he explained what grief is to me. You know, he was a psychologist, so he was like really good at explaining that kind of stuff. And he told me grief is like having a full water bottle. And if you put it off, you'll have to carry this water bottle, this heavy water bottle around with you all the time. But every time you need to feel something or feel sad or cry or laugh, you pour a little bit of that water bottle out. And you'll always have the bottle with you, but it gets a little lighter each time you're able to let those emotions out. And I've actually, for those of you that don't know, I'm a hospice physician. So thanks, Dad. I use that one a lot, actually. It was really good advice, and I wanted to share that with you today because I needed to hear that from him today, or on March 30th too. The second thing I want to share is that although there's absolutely nothing that can prepare you for the sudden and completely unexpected loss of somebody like Larry, I do have some insight into how to handle and think about death and dying, since I'm a hospice doctor. And I'm finding myself leaning on some of the advice and lessons that I give the families and loved ones. That wasn't okay. That I take care of. And I told my dad this once, there's not very many people that I can really talk to about the depths and the profound work that I get to do all the time. But my dad was one of them that I could open up to. And I want to share one of the greatest lessons that working around people who are going through the dying process and their families, what they've taught me. And it's that people die the way they live. And it's really hard to be able to change that. As I was leaving Salt Lake City to come to Tucson on March 30th, I felt an overwhelming need to write down how my dad died the way he lived. His death was fast. It was quick. It did not tolerate any drama. It was strong. It was determined, committed, private, and quiet. And it was considerate. That was my dad. I know that all of you are devastated just like we are, but my dad would want all of us to get this over with and move on with our lives, honestly. He would want us to pour that water out of the bottle when we need to and figure out a way to carry that bottle and move on. So this right here would mean the most to my dad, you all being in the place that he loved. With Donna, he would want you to all look around and see the beauty of Tucson. So thank you everybody for coming. That's all I have to say.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Larry's sister, Donna, the other Donna. How about those kids? He had great kids. He has great kids. I just wanted to say a couple of words to honor my brother. And I wrote them on the plane on my way down here. So you really wouldn't have wanted to be on the plane near me. But the harsh truth is that we come into this world alone and we leave it alone. The fleeting time that we have in between with those we love are the most precious, and Larry loved greatly. First and foremost, he loved his family, his wife Donna, who shared his passions, and his children. He was so proud of all of you and the amazing, great people that you've become. Engineers, doctors, professors, energy investors, marketing strategists, film producers, the people that we need in our current world and to save our future one. Our life paths change as our life grows. His respect and continued support for even more was evidenced by both families coming together with love and kindness that is an example for all meshed families. Larry loved his athletic competition, and I wonder if he were to choose how he would pass away if he wouldn't have chosen the water, because it certainly was his element. How many times did I brag that my brother podiumed at Ironman twice? Whew. He always had a deep appreciation for music. I recall in the basement of our home, our family home, him teaching me music quality and how to play that newfangled device called the reel-to-reel. More recently, his intent on learning Spanish and using it to order lunch just 7 weeks ago will always be a fun and loving memory. Who would have ever thought that Larry would become a desert landscaper? Did any of you really ask him for gardening advice? Bro, I speak for my sister, Nancy, and myself, and I'm sure all of you, that we were privileged to know you, and we'll miss you greatly. There's a hole in my heart without you here, but you will always be here with us in your memory and will be carried forth forever by your children and family. Thank you all for sharing this time with us.
Hi, my name is Eve Abrams. I'm Larry's former wife and mother to Holly, April, and Dan. And I'm so happy to say good friends with Larry and Donna for the last 25 plus years, which has been a gift. And I just want to say a couple funny things. When I first met Larry at Indiana State, the first time he said he was going to cook me a meal, he made himself a dozen eggs, scrambled. And I'm like, who else is coming? And he's like, no, I can probably, he said, how many did you want? I said, well, like one. And so I got one and he had 11. But it was like kind of a clue at that point where things were going. But I mostly want to say that Larry was a wonderful father and he was totally in love with his kids. And the first 6 years after they were born, because we had 3 children in 22 months. And so the first few years I stayed home and didn't work. And the days were long sometimes. So he would come home after work. He was getting into triathlons when the twins were, April and Dan were 2 and Holly was 4. So he would get up at like 4 in the morning so that he could do his workouts before work mostly, sometimes at lunch, but he would always be home at 5:30 so he could spend time with the kids. And he would come home and we had a double stroller and he fit 3 kids in there and he would take off running. That was his last training event of the day, and take them to the park so I could fix dinner. And he always made time for the children, and he was just a wonderful father. And he loved his children very much. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
By the light.
Literally.
So here, let's.
Is the reflection too bad for you?
Can you scoot back? Can you scoot back a little? Maybe we can get you in the students.
All right, all right. I can go in
There
the
we
car.
go. Ooh. There we can. They can see you there.
Good evening, and thank all of you. My name is Bob Krutka, and I'm Larry's brother-in-law, the husband of Nancy. Damn it. She set me up here. I didn't want to do this. She didn't want to do this. God knows. And this morning, finally, I said, okay, I'll take a shot at it. Nancy and I have traveled around the world quite a bit. I was in the military for 32 years. And every once in a while, Larry would join us. And what I really remember most about that is that we had to lock the refrigerator. And particularly the pantry. Our children were not raised on sweets, so they were portioned out very deliberately by their mother, Nancy. And when Larry came, he had obliterated them. As a matter of fact, I think he's probably the one that gave my kids the idea of taking the Oreos apart and putting pressed toothpaste in the middle, so that other people would not enjoy them quite as much as they might. But again, I didn't want to be here. This morning, we got a phone call from Larry's aunt, Mary Ann Krutka in Michigan. And she did want to be here. She couldn't leave. And she related a story to us that I never knew before, so I thought I'd share it with you because it's about Larry. And Larry came home to Michigan to visit one time, and he went out to see Mary Ann and Andy, his uncle and aunt, and their child, who was Andy John. Andy John was a paraplegic. And he wanted to be with him for the day. So he took him off, the two of them. Where did they go? No idea. What did they do? We probably didn't want to know. But what is most important about that is he spent his time, that entire day with that young child, taking care of him, who couldn't fend for himself whatsoever. Mary Ann said, little Andy would never forget it. She still remembers it. But that's what Larry was like. Damn it, Larry. Too soon. Way too soon. We've spent the last 4 days thinking about the past, loving each other, and trying to support the family. And I'm happy to say that's probably over now, after tonight. Larry would not want us looking to the past that much. He wants us looking to the future. So I have just charged each of us, maybe not now, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next month, but look back on Larry then and think about the future. He pissed me off when he left. But I want to thank all of you for being here tonight.
There you go.
Hi, my name is Mark Watkins, and I'm Holly's husband. I'm sorry, I'm just a little emotional. My daughters over here, Larry's granddaughters, have that gene, as you can tell, as they're hot lapping the 18th green back here. And you know, I was talking to them earlier, and I'm so proud that they have some Larry in them. You know, my son and my daughters coming from Holly. And, you know, like there was just such a, you guys knew him so well, and you knew what he was about, and everybody's so well prepared. I have a little something. It's a card that my daughter just gave me. It's got her name on it. And that's about as far as I got as far as writing anything down goes. But I guess, and I've told the story several times in the last couple of days, but you know, one of my best memories with Larry, and they were always kind of like this, was he was like up at 6 to go on a run before we went on a little ride. And I towed my son a little carry along up up this canyon road. Nice chill ride for his standards. For me, I was struggling. And at some point, it just felt like it was a little bit easier, and I was like, oh, okay, like I get my legs and awesome. And after I shifted gears a few times, and it's just like, yeah, I feel like I'm really getting it now. I turned around and Larry was one hand on the back of Leslie's stroller behind me and just pushing us up that hill. And we got up there and had the couple of beers that Larry had stowed away in the stroller. And I just always felt like that's just how he did it. Like he always was, like everybody said, he just went for it all the time, no matter what it was. And I looked up to him in so many ways, and it's hard to join a family like, Holly's Larry's oldest daughter. And, whenever I asked Larry, like, to marry his daughter, he just gave me that, like, confidence that I needed, because he's a little bit intimidating, and, he has a high standard. He always lived his days to the highest standard. And so, it's just been an honor to join this family and live this life with you guys, and all its ups and downs. And man, like, guys, I love your father, I love your husband. Thank you so much for helping this happen.
And a lot of our
Yeah, well, I'm a former school teacher, so I have to talk a little. What a gracious man. I only knew Larry for a little over a year. I met him through another running friend, and we were running on the golf course, and he was running fairly slow. And I thought, wow, this is good. I'm going to enjoy running with this man. Because I run with a couple of women, they tend to want to take off and run too fast for me. And so we're running along, fine, and we're introducing each other. And I'm learning. I didn't know that he was this great athlete. I found out when we came to the first hill, and he's running the hill. I don't run hills. No, you walk the uphill. He says, no, you run the uphill. You can walk downhill. And another thing about Larry, he always dressed appropriately. I mean, he had nice colors on all the time. He had these bright shoes, red ones, orange ones, yellows. He always had these fancy shirts on. And I'm a former art teacher. I thought, man, this guy's stealing my show. So I went and bought some red shoes the other day. And I was really going to kid Larry. Unfortunately, he never got to see the red shoes. I called Larry a beast. You're a beast, Larry. It was 35 degrees out one morning, and we met for this run. I'm dressed in long pants. I have my stocking cap on. I have gloves on. Here comes Larry with a t-shirt and shorts. You're a beast, Larry. Now, a beast is a complimentary term. My grandson told me this. You're a beast, that means you're really good. And Larry was really good. I'm going to miss those runs. We do have one hill, my running buddies, and I dedicated one hill going up to the 10th tee box. It's a good hill. We call it the Larry Hill, and we always run that one. So he'll always be with us. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
My name's Kurt Long. Larry was my friend. We ran together for more than 25 years. And I'm not tallied up the number of miles that we ran together, but I'm certain they're in the thousands. I learned a lot from Larry, and I learned learned a lot about Larry on those runs. And one thing I learned, which will come as no surprise to you all, he had the most mental toughness of anybody I have ever known. He could will himself to do the impossible, and he did. You all know the stories. But you would think that maybe someone with that kind of drive and that kind of determination and that kind of mental toughness would have some rough or sharp edges. But Larry was very kind and very compassionate and very patient with those with less talent than he and those that were not as driven as he, which, let's face it, was pretty much all of us. I saw him do amazing things that I didn't think possible, but he did them. He was kind. He loved his family. And I can tell you that on many of those runs, he really, really loved his family. And he absolutely adored Donna. I can remember many stories, but he was always, when my eyesight began to fail in later years, he was always there in the dark with a hand on the shoulder to push me away from an unseen obstacle out there on the dark trail somewhere. And he was so subtle in his coaching. His background, as you all know, is child psychology, which worked very well on me, by the way. And I remember specifically one day he called me and said, "Let's go run the Jenks Half Marathon." I said, "Larry, I just ran a marathon 2 weeks ago. I don't think that's a good idea." So come on, we'll just do it easy, it'll be fun. Famous last words. Well, we showed up and we took off, and I looked at my watch at the first mile split and it read 6:30. And I said, "Larry, I thought we were going to do this slow." And he said, "You're doing great. This is going to be good. You've got a good mile in the bank, so let's just keep going and see what happens." Well, long story short, by the end of that morning, we were both in the state record books for the half marathon for age group. And to this day, I don't know how he did it. I don't know. You know, when someone passes away, it's traditional or conventional to say he's at rest, he's at peace, his labors are over. But you know, that just doesn't fit Larry very well. And I'm thinking that if there is a triathlon in heaven, he's already training. And I think he's got St. Peter on the bench press, talking about static contraction and the benefits of core strength. But I will share with you my last memory of Larry, and it will be a lasting memory. When we were out here in January. And on our last day, Larry said, "Let's go run my neighborhood loop," which is a 6.5 mile loop on the Portalita loop here. And as you may know, Larry was struggling a little bit with his running the last couple of years. So I thought this will be great. So we took off, and on that morning, he was on his game. He was flying over the hills, which is not easy to do. And he's pushing the pace, and I'm pushing the pace. And it was just like old times. We were young again, we were fast again, and there wasn't anything that couldn't stand in our way. Adios, mi hermano.
Champion of the first Larry Legend 5K. I tried to keep up with it the whole time. So
I actually take more pleasure in being known as Larry's friend. My wife Naira and I met Larry and Donna about 3.5 years ago here in Stone Canyon because they were triathletes and we were triathletes. And it was about a month before we met them, and we were told by maybe 20 different members, "You have to meet Larry and Donna." We said, "Oh, we're looking forward to that." and we never ran into him. So finally we contacted him, said, come on out for dinner, let's meet. So the first night we had dinner, we had 4 hours of triathlon stories. Did you do this race, this race, this race? And over the years, the 3.5 years that we were together, we did 7 triathlons together, including several nationals. And Donna and Larry were kind enough to fly out from here to come visit us in New Hampshire for a triathlon weekend, where we went up to Maine and raced a sprint triathlon on Saturday. And heck, you don't want to go all the way across the country to do just one race. So let's do an Olympic triathlon on Sunday. Well, Larry won his age group both days. Surprise, surprise. And Donna won it, and I won my age group. I was pleasantly surprised. And it wasn't just that Larry was a great athlete, as you all know, but imagine he did it for 45, 50 years. That is an incredible accomplishment. To be able to do it that well for that long. So of course I liked Larry because he told a lot of good triathlon stories, and we ran together and we swam together. He always wanted to do, instead of just swimming for fun, he wanted to do goddamn interval training. We had to do repeats and we had to sprint, and that was 1:30 seconds. So it's trying to do 1:29. Do it again and again and again. But I came to know him. What really surprised me the most about Larry was how much of a Renaissance man he was. I too like gardening in the desert landscaping. And there's nothing funnier than coming upon Larry covered in dirt at his house with a wheelbarrow in hand and talking and telling me about how he's at war with the prairie dogs who are building nests underneath his driveway. But he's figured out he can put smoke bombs down these hills and follow the smoke trail as it comes up all around the yard and trace it back. And he annihilated the prairie dogs on his property. I really admired that. And he would come over and help us. You know, if we had a computer problem, I remember when this said, Larry, will you come help us? How do you format this new printer? What does it mean? And I don't know. Give me the instruction manual. And he would just sit there and read it and do it and figure it out. And it would take a while, but he was patient, as you heard earlier. He could really do just about everything. Came to admire him in so many ways. And I admired that he always wanted to learn. He knew so much, yet he still wanted to learn. How many people in their 70s are trying to learn a new language? Think about that. And he was good at it too. Heck, he not only learned it, he'd go down to Mexico and enjoy it and say, how do I speak Spanish with these folks? They're going to help me. And he would ask questions and want to learn from everybody he met. And just like Donna said the other day, we would hear about, oh yeah, I went on a 50-mile ride. I saw some guys pass me, so I caught up to them. And I began talking to them, and you know what? And then he'd tell us all about these people that, you know, he had never met before, but yeah, and they're going to come back. We're going to start riding together about every 2 weeks, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And he could have introduced all of Oro Valley to each other over time. So it was a joy to know him. We'll miss him very much, and we're very thankful to spend the time that we did with Larry and Donna. Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, you can hear me. All right. Hopefully, I don't have a worse glare than the person that spoke about, foreback, but on my forehead, that is. So I'm Scott Ostrom. Kathy is my wife. I met Larry back in about 2010 through running, and there was a run in Tulsa called, I think, Thunderfoot. And it was the first day I met Larry, and I remember seeing him and thinking, I'm not going to have a hard time beating, this older guy up the mountain. And sure enough, he beat everyone that day. And we began becoming friends through triathlon. But the one thing that I appreciate that Larry brought to Kathy and me was the introduction to the Krutka family. And I've grown to just love Donna and Lauren and Natalie, who I know the best. But through the last couple of days we've been here, and I've gotten to know Holly a little better, and Dan and April and Brandon a little better. So and of course they all gave just wonderful, heartwarming talks. So I'll have to lighten this up a little bit or I'll get emotional. But so there was a tradition that Donna and Lauren and I actually started back in, I think, 2010 or 2011. We moved to California, Kathy and I did, after 10 years in Tulsa. And Donna came out with Lauren, and we spent a couple days doing like yoga in this cool Buddhist temple. And then Donna and I did the first, tour of California together. I don't remember where Larry was that trip, but after that, there was about 4 more trips where Larry and Donna came out to California, and we got to do the tour of California. We'd do the ride, before the riders would get up there. But there was one in particular that was kind of fun and funny, and Chad Cagle was out there as well on that one. Of course, he's faster than the rest of us, so he's up the mountain before any of us. And then Larry and I are with Donna and Kathy, and we needed to kind of help them up the mountain by giving them a boost. Every once in a while, we're going up Mount Baldy, and so Larry and I couldn't compete on getting to the top of the mountain. Although little did Larry know, he came out without a bike, and so I gave him a more inferior bike than the one I was on. And so I wanted to hold that one in the bag just in case Larry pulled out some amazing trick. But we decided to ride with our wives. And so Larry and I needed a contest to compete in. And if you've ever watched tour riders, dispose of their bottles after water stops. And so as you go up Mount Baldy, there's hundreds of water bottles on the side, and no one stops to pick up water bottles because, one, it's hard to get back on your bike. But Larry and I decided we'd see who could stuff the most water bottles in our jerseys. And over the course of about 5 miles, we looked like Hans and Franz or Pillsbury Doughboy. We had water bottles in the front and the back. And Larry probably had more than I did, but for the record, well, I probably should actually give Larry this win. But I think we got down to the top, and we're unloading. And I know Donna and Kathy were like, "How did you get so many water bottles?" I even think we stuck some in our shorts. So it was a fun little contest, and and there are many more like that with Larry. But he left this world having, I'm sure, left wonderful, fun stories for all of us. So that's just one I wanted to tell.
So I'm Larry's son. I don't work out at all. Every single story that we've heard has been about Larry working out or running or whatever. I wanted to stand up here to defend the other side of Larry. He had a fierce intellect, a massive curiosity. And although I don't recognize a lot of people here, I guarantee you I've heard about all of you. He would tell stories, and every story he would tell would start with who the person was that he was talking to, what they did for a living, what interesting thing they said. My mom said it before, but I don't know if you guys understand, like, he lived for other people. And all of you, if you're here, you mattered so much to him. And I keep thinking about, God, I would be so lucky to have half this many people at my funeral. And I can't think of a better testament to who he was than all of you are here. So thank you.
Larry and I go back a long time, I think 25 years probably. So I'd gone through a divorce and Larry was taking me out, and I was using all my energy training, and we did a lot of training. And so I happened to be training for a triathlon, an indoor that he won every year. And so at the end of our workout, I noticed this gal sitting at the desk in front of us. I said, "Larry, who's that?" He goes, "I don't know, but I'll find out." And so as a few days went by, Susie gets you can tell them.
Oh, yeah. So I was working at the health club at the time, and that's how I knew Larry. And the guy at the front desk said, "There's this guy in the locker room, and he wants to give your number to a friend of his." I said, "I'm not doing that, no." And then I was like, "Wait a second, who is the guy in the locker room?" He said, "Larry Krutka." And I said, "Oh yeah, I like his friend."
So we connect. Yes, Donna and Larry joined us together 25 years ago, and we're so happy ever since. I have so many stories to tell about Larry that I just, they just run through my mind. I'm just thankful that I got to be in his life and with the family, great family of his, and such a wonderful group of people. So,
he was a great example too.
Yes,
great example of just love, and the love he showed to Donna and his relationship with you, Eve, and it was a good example for us.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
And so I think with that, we are getting close. We have a wonderful mariachi band who's joining us tonight. And if you knew Larry, he spent time he's been trying to learn his Spanish and improve his Spanish in recent years. And so he had an 857-day Duolingo streak. So if you think his competitive spirit stopped with running and biking and everything, it went into everything. And so he's been working on his Spanish for several years. And part of that, of course, was he started listening to Latin music so he could listen to the Spanish and the music oftentimes to continue to practice. And so if you see, he had goals and he always tried to achieve them. So we have a wonderful mariachi band that is joining us tonight. Dinner should be served very shortly. Was there something else? And so, yeah, dinner is being served right now for, of course, everyone here. And so at 7:30, approximately 7:30, Donna's going to say a few words. We'll have the mic picked back up at that point. So please enjoy yourselves, talk to each other, tell stories of Larry, and please tell us if there's things you want to share with us. Thank you. And thank you, everyone who joined us on the webcast. I can leave the video on if you want to see the goings on, but we'll just be chatting. But thank you. We really appreciate you, and I know you are a big part of Larry's life. We understand everyone couldn't make it here. Thank you. Yeah.
It's just incredible. But I also wanted to tell you what this community means. There's some cyclists here. God, Larry became a cyclist when he came to here, and he loved you all so much. Raise your hand if you're a cyclist and rode with Larry. These are all the cyclists. Every one of those made him so happy and so proud, and I thank you. Frank was the first one that actually he met, and they rode for a while, and Frank moved out and met other people, and they rode for a while, and the Zona group came and rode for a while, and so you guys have been really important. And then there's the runners, of course, and raise your hand if you're a runner. And you guys ran with him. Of course, the Tulsa group started it all out. Where's the Tulsa group if you're here? Raise your hand. They came all the way. They dropped everything and came. It's amazing. And then there are the musicians. Those people who enjoyed going with us to Gaslight Music Hall and seeing all those shows. Where are those musicians? Raise your hand. We had fun and ate pizzas. So what I would like to let you all know is that we got to live strong and hard and long. And we've heard some really wonderful things about Larry. He was a wonderful athlete, but he really was a wonderful person. And he gave me he was the only person that I ever met that could keep up with me. In fact, there were times I said to him, I can't keep up with you, Larry. You wore me out. So I even had trouble keeping up with him at times, but we made a wonderful match, and that was so fun. But I said to the last few groups that I've talked to, as I said, he really would want you to remember to love those who are in your life and really treat them like you be their biggest fan. He wants you to do that. And like Steve pointed out to me, he wants me to use it in the present tense because I do really feel he's going to be with me and you guys too, because that's what great people are. So what I'd like you to do with your ribbons, please, is turn to somebody and put this ribbon on their lip. Anybody? You or anybody? But if you didn't, then find somebody to put it on. Would somebody like to put a ribbon on me? I need somebody.
Yes.
Brandon, get in there and do that, Brandon.
Okay. Does everybody have one on their wrist? Okay. So what I'd like you to do is just maybe the next few days, or if you just the next few minutes, I'd like you to wear the ribbon and kind of think of Larry and just send some vibes to the universe. If you have God or a creator or an energy that surrounds you, send them to him. Send Larry's vibes to him or her. And then I want you to have my family raise their hand. Family, everybody. So take your hands and find one of my family members and put your hand on my family member. Find a family member and put your hand on the shoulder. Put your hand on the shoulder of the other.
Good thing I trust you guys hold on.
Find a family member and put your hand on their shoulder. And we're all going to release the energy that we've received from our relationship with Larry and send it to the universe. All right, now let's all send your hand. And thank you again so much for being here. And I love you and Larry loves you, and have a wonderful night. Okay?
Thank you.